My wife said it was a girls' weekend, but what happened in the hotel lobby left her speechless. I always figured life had finally cut me a fair deal. I'm Mark Dalton, 42, senior project engineer for a Nashville-based construction management firm called Cumberland Structures. After 15 years of bouncing from job site to job site, long enough to memorize the smell of rebar and coffee, I'd finally been promoted to a hybrid project manager. Mostly office these days, still plenty of mud on my boots some weeks. Good insurance, base salary around $100,000, a small 2-car garage full of tools and kids' bikes, a 2,700 square foot house on a cul-de-sac in Brentwood. My wife, Laura, worked in brand strategy for St. Thomas Health Network, marketing degree from UT Knoxville, charismatic, the kind of professional who remembered birthdays and wrote thank you notes by hand. She shared an office with her best friend, Alyssa, who was forever talking her into networking events. I loved that about her. She could sparkle at a Thursday fundraiser and come home and cut PB&J triangles for the kids like any other mom on our street. We had 2 children, Claire, 14, quick-witted, already sketching her own graphic novels, and Sam, 9, Lego addict and competitive swimmer. I coached his Little League team on weekends, she managed the snack schedule. From the outside, we were a textbook happy family. Even from the inside, it felt that way for a long time. I met Laura in 2008 at a Chamber of Commerce volunteer event. She was leading the marketing booth, her hair tucked behind safety glasses, talking a mile a minute about energy-efficient buildings. I was there explaining structural concrete to city officials. She teased, "I sell dreams, you pour them 6 feet thick." I asked her out before the event was over. Our relationship was quicksand in the best way. 2 years later, we got married at a vineyard south of Franklin. Honeymooned in Oregon, hiked waterfalls, promised each other we'd always take one big trip a year. And for a while we did. First came Claire, then Sam. Life blurred into minivans and swim meets. The last steady memory I have before everything fractured is one Saturday morning on the porch. Coffee, cards, blanket on our laps while the kids rode scooters. The dog barked. She leaned her head on my shoulder and said, "We did it, huh? Ordinary in the best way." My heart still twists when I think about that because that's what I thought we were. Fast forward to late 2019. My firm picked up a big hotel redevelopment downtown, deadline nightmare. I started pulling 50-hour weeks. Laura was climbing her own ladder, prepping marketing campaigns for 3 new outpatient clinics. Most nights we met around 8:30, me smelling of drywall dust, her still half glued to her laptop. Conversations turned transactional, groceries, kids' schedules, and when the water heater guy was coming. We kept promising, when this project wraps, we'll breathe again. But one small project bled to another. Then I noticed it. Laura was glued to her phone late, sometimes smiling at nothing. Sometimes I would turn the screen away when I walked past. She told me it was her group chat, the mom squad venting about husbands and caffeine. I let it go. Everyone needs their outlet. Weeks passed, and our once easy rhythm turned brittle. Her laughter got rarer at dinner. She started dressing up more for clients. I pressed on, tried to be a good husband, packed her car for early meetings, left little notes on the fridge, cooked when I could, but the gulf widened. That's when Jim Carter entered the picture. Initially just a name. He and Laura went to the same high school in Murfreesboro. He ran a small but growing digital print company that produced healthcare brochures. When his contract landed with St. Thomas Health's marketing department, he and Laura naturally reconnected. At first I was glad. Maybe she needed an easy old friend. But small signs crept in. A business trip to Atlanta that changed to a vendor meeting in Chattanooga. A text tone she silenced if I was near. Once when we had neighbors over for barbecue, she mentioned Jim's company while describing a clever ad layout, and her cheeks colored just slightly.
I noticed. So did Alyssa, her office friend, because she quickly changed the subject. It still wasn't enough to accuse anyone of anything, but instinct started whispering. The discovery happened almost by accident. Sam's school needed an iPad for a science app. Ours was dead. I dug an old one from a desk drawer, plugged it in, powered it up, and there it was. Laura's Facebook Messenger still logged in. I wasn't out to snoop, but when the notification popped up, "Jim Carter, you home?" Something in me paused. One tap, and the screen opened to jokes, memes, casual talk that tiptoed into flirtation. Nothing explicit yet, but half the conversation was missing. Timestamps didn't line up. I closed it, stomach leaden. Could be innocent, sure, but I started paying attention. That night, I set the iPad up to mirror her messages to my laptop, old IT habit. The next evening, while she texted the girls, I sat in the home office watching words flicker across the screen. Laura, he's suddenly doing dishes. It's kind of adorable. Jim, trying to win you back from me, WYK. They joked about my work schedule, my overcooked steaks, even private fears I'd once shared about my dad's heart attack. They weren't sexting, but there was intimacy of another kind, emotional, teasing, secret. I took screenshots, more out of disbelief than strategy. Every time I confronted her, even gently, "Who keeps you laughing over there?" she'd smirk. "You're jealous of memes now?" The next week, things turned unmistakably physical in tone. "Jim, wish I could sneak you away for coffee that turns into breakfast in bed." Laura, dangerous talk for two responsible adults. "Jim, you didn't say no." I watched her delete that last line within seconds, but not before it synced to the cloud. I barely slept that night. When you stop trusting someone, your brain turns into evidence machine. I began noting everything. Her car's odometer jumped 90 miles the day she claimed to work from home. She had a receipt for a boutique near Jim's office. 2 wine glasses in the dishwasher after a day I'd been out of town. Then, the emails appeared. Sharing our Apple account finally proved useful. Her cloud backups included message previews. Fairfield Suites downtown, Nashville. Confirmation for 2 nights. The business pretext? Some out-of-town vendor training? That's when sympathy turned to steel. I hired a private investigator, a retired cop who handled a lot of infidelity cases around Davidson County. I handed over dates. 2 weeks later, he texted me 3 photographs. Laura entering a coffee shop near Centennial Park with Jim. Later, both heading into a mid-range hotel, holding hands. I stared at those prints until I couldn't see straight. I didn't confront her yet. I wanted a clean break, not a shouting match destined for court chaos. My lawyer, a steady man named Ralph Jenkins, advised, "Get your financial ducks in a row. Withdraw half, never all. Stay calm. Don't give her the fury she's expecting." I followed every word. I redirected my paycheck to a new account, copied every message, receipt, and photo, printed them into neat binders. Then one Thursday, Laura breezily announced she and the girls planned a spa weekend at a resort in downtown Franklin. Exactly the same dates Jim had mentioned in one message about flying down for quality time. I told her it sounded great. Encouraged it, even. I kissed her on the temple and said, "You deserve a break." Inside, my pulse drummed like machinery. That Saturday evening, I drove into Franklin, parked near the Marriott, walked into the lobby and asked the clerk for room 327, the room number matching her confirmation email. Could you connect me to that room, please?" The phone rang twice before a man answered. Jim Carter speaking. "Yeah, could you send my wife, Laura Dalton, down to the lobby?"
A pause. "I think you have the wrong—" "5 minutes," I said, "or I walk upstairs." He hung up. Exactly 2 minutes later, the elevator opened. Laura stepped out, hair damp, shoulders tense, wearing a shawl I'd given her for our anniversary. The second she saw me, the mask of composure cracked. "Mark, what are you—" I gestured toward a side seating area, set a folder on the table. "Everything. Texts, photos, receipts. I'm not here to argue. I just needed to see your face when you realize it's over." She collapsed into the chair, trembling hands gripping her purse strap. "It's not what it looks like. We just needed to talk. You never booked hotels to talk before. I know exactly what this is." Silence, except for lobby music humming softly. I slid an envelope toward her, a cashier's check for half the joint savings and a separation agreement Ralph had prepared. "I'm not out to destroy you. You move out peacefully, we handle this like adults, and the kids maintain stability. Violate that, and every one of these screenshots goes to your company HR, your parents, and yes, someday to Claire when she's old enough." Her eyes filled. "Mark, please." "Go upstairs," I said quietly. "You're already late." I walked out before tears could finish the job. Halfway to my car, I nearly doubled over in the parking lot, shaking with a mix of heartbreak and fury. Then I drove to a nearby park and just sat there, crying, cussing, laughing weakly at the surrealness until sunrise. By Monday evening, moving trucks sat in our driveway. She texted, "We need to talk to Claire and Sam together." We did. The usual sanitized version. "Mommy and Daddy need space, but still love you." Claire stared at her shoes. Sam looked confused. Days later, Laura called endlessly. I ignored most of them and finally agreed to meet at a neutral cafe. She came in pale, voice soft. "I'm so sorry. It spun out of control. I didn't mean for any of it to happen." "I did mean it. You chose it. I just happened to find out." The following months became a routine of damage control, helping kids adjust, lawyers finalizing paperwork, and sessions with therapists. Strangely, Laura seemed compliant, ashamed, occasionally desperate. She begged for marriage counseling for the kids. I agreed, mostly for appearances. The counseling sessions turned into her monologues of guilt while I sat there learning how distance feels. At home, she visited 3 evenings per week to cook for the children. The old habits returned superficially, laundry folded, dinner smells in the kitchen. But between us stood a silence thicker than walls. Once, while loading the dishwasher, she whispered, "How did we get here?" I answered honestly, one message at a time. About 6 months in, my health cracked. Panic attacks in traffic, insomnia, and chest pressure. A company doctor recommended leave. My bosses, good people, moved me to part-time project review work so I could stay insured and be home more with the kids. That turned out to be a blessing in disguise. Courts love a stable caregiver. When Laura and I eventually met in mediation, tension hung like fog. Her attorney pushed for equal custody, standard play. Ralph calmly slid forward color-coded binders, evidence of infidelity, timeline showing her deception, and documentation of my adjusted job schedule for childcare. Her attorney leaned back, sighed. "If Miss Dalton contests this, we'll reopen discovery, and all correspondence becomes part of the public record." Laura closed her eyes. "No." She signed everything. Primary custody to me, weekend visitation for her, house to me under equity buyout, and modest child support calculated from her salary. The judge stamped the decree that October. When we walked out, she stopped me in the courthouse hall. I don't hate you. I don't either. But I don't trust you. And that's the same thing now. The kids handled things in their own ways. Claire turned her frustration into sketchbooks, angry, beautiful art that filled an entire drawer. Sam bounced between confusion and acceptance. He's young enough that love, not betrayal, defines his memories. I attended therapy regularly and learned to breathe again. The house started to feel lighter. A year later, I met Rachel, a nurse at Vanderbilt University Medical Center. Mutual friends invited me to a charity run for children's cardiology wards. I almost didn't go. Shockingly, she made me laugh before the starting gun even fired. Practical, patient, not a single trace of pretense. We ran again the next weekend, coffee after instead of beer. Conversations turned to books, kids, and old music. When I told her about the divorce, she didn't tilt her head in pity. She just nodded and said, "That kind of pain rewires you, doesn't it? But you learn that different wiring can still light a home." The line stayed with me. We took it slow, 6 months of casual outings before the kids met her. Claire, ever the judge of character, approved instantly. "She actually listens, Dad." Sam just wanted to show her his Lego fort. She spent an hour helping him rebuild the drawbridge. We married 18 months later in a small backyard ceremony. Laura attended for the kids' sake, quiet and polite. When Rachel reached for my hand during the vows, I knew peace finally outweighed pain.